next, we have somebody who has a background in freelance development and entrepreneurship. This is Alexandra, and she brings a unique perspective to successful web projects. She drives progress in tech she drives progress in the tech industry through speaking at conferences and empowering developers. And a fun fact about Alexandra is she wanted to be an actress and attended a drama school in Paris. So please, everybody, a warm round of applause for Alexandra Spalato, developer relations engineer from Storyblock.
I don't find the plug. Yes, no, but the plug, the HDMI, it's gone. It's there. Yes, and I need that too. Thanks. I don't know where is the clicker. Is that? Okay, I think I'm good. So yes, I'm Alexandra Spalato. I've been entrepreneur, but now I'm developer relation engineer at Storyblock. I'm French, so je peux aussi parler français. I'm also Spanish, puedo también hablar español, and I live in Madrid. And yes, I'm a former wannabe actress, so I'm super happy to be on stage because I'm coming back to my roots on the stage. A little bit like Remix, that is embracing web standards, so the roots of the web, to redefine modern web development. So who of you has already used Remix? OK. And who doesn't know anything about it? OK. And who want to try it? OK. Myself, I learned it by chance because I have another talk about Shopify Hydrogen, and because of Hydrogen, I learned Remix, and I fell in love with it because it's really simple to use because of web standards. So that's what we are going to see now. Let's see if this works. No. So, OK, so let's first dive into the evolution of web development. So web development is all about transforming data into HTML and delivering it to the browser for rendering. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Remember when web development was all about server-side rendering? You make a request to the server, the page would be rendered using a templating language and sent back to the browser. JavaScript was like the cherry on top, just used sparingly to have a dash of interactivity. But then, like a plot twist in a movie, JavaScript framework like React, Vue, Angular, Svelte, and meta frameworks like Nuxt, Next, Gatsby came into the scene. And with them, the concept of universal JavaScript was born. This is like the superhero version of JavaScript. It can run on the browser and on the server. All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, the challenges we face in modern web development. Scalability. Your app always needs more complexity, more data, more user without crashing. New frameworks are popping up every week. It's like a fashion trend. So keeping up with the latest and the greatest can be exhausting and time-consuming. Performance. Nobody likes a slow website. Browser compatibility. We need our apps to work seamlessly across all browsers. UI and UX, this is all about our users. Developer experience, this is about us, developers. We want our tools to be powerful, but also to be intuitive and enjoyable to use. Security, we need to protect our users' data. Okay, don't worry, I'm not here to talk only about problems, I'm here to talk about solutions. And this is where Remix comes in. So this doesn't work. So what's Remix all about? Imagine if a server-rendered framework and React had a baby. This is Remix. It's got the scalability of a chameleon. It can handle complex applications, but it can also scale down to the point where you don't even need JavaScript on the page. And the best part is built on web standards. So it's like speaking the browser native language. It has a server-client model, so you can filter the data from the server and only deliver what your user need. So this will enhance your app's speed and scalability. It's built on web standards, so it's like having a universal adapter working seamlessly across all browsers. JavaScript is used for UX. So it's like the icing on the cake. It enhances the user experience, but the app still works great without it. It also avoids over-abstractions. Learning a new framework can feel like learning a new language and realize it's just spoken on a tiny island. With Remix, you're learning the language of the web. So as you get better at Remix, you're actually becoming a better web developer. And by sticking to web standards and best practice, it helps to keep things secure. So let's dive into how Remix streamlines our development process with web standards. First off, Remix loves URLs. URLs are the backbone of the web, the address of every little piece of content on the internet. Remix embraces this and uses URLs to manage routing and data loading. Next up, we have the Fetch API. This is your tool for data handling. And let's talk about HTML. It's the language of the web. It's been around since the dawn of the internet. And Remix uses HTML to its full potential. Last but not least, we have HTTP caching. By leveraging the browser's built-in caching mechanisms, Remix can drastically improve the speed of your app. So let's talk about URLs in Remix. In Remix, they're kind of a big deal. They're not just addresses. They're the backbone of your web architecture. Imagine a URL as a path, and each segment of this path corresponds to a nested layout in your UI. In Remix, you can collocate your UI and data handling code in the same file. We're talking about full-stack components. Remix also optimizes your client-side navigation. It knows which layouts will persist between two URLs, so it only fetches the data for the ones that are changing. And on top of it, Remix can prefetch all resources for a page when the user is about to click a link. So next time you look at a URL, remember, in Remix, it's not just an address. It's a powerful tool that shapes your web architecture, optimizes your navigation, and streamlines your navigation process. So let's dive into the Fetch API in Remix. It's like your personal postman, delivering data from the web to your app. It manages requests and responses, your outgoing and incoming data messages. We also have headers, which are similar to the address on an envelope. They carry additional information about the request or response, like the destination or the type of data being sent. The fetch method takes your request, delivers your response, and can be called from anywhere in your app. Loaders in Remix are functions that fetch data from the server for your components. There's the backbone of your app's data flow. And Remix add request, response, headers, and fetch to your loader's global context. This means you can use them anywhere in your app, just like you would in the browser. And lastly, we also have helper methods like JSON and redirect that streamline working with the Fetch API. So with the Fetch API in Remix, handling data is as easy as sending a letter. So now let's dive into data writes or mutations in Remix. The magic here is based on two basic stuff: HTML forms and HTTP. Again, Remix is taking us back to the basics, but with a modern twist. When we talk about creating, deleting, or updating data on our website, in reality, we're talking about form submissions. And it's not just for your big complex form like the user profile edit page. Even the little likes buttons are forms in disguise. The Remix form components add some special features to the usual HTML form. After a form submissions, all the loaders on the page automatically refresh, showing the user the latest info without needing to refresh manually the page. And with form, your page doesn't reload after a form submission, providing a smoother user experience. And then we can use hooks like use navigation that give us access to the pending form state. So we can build a user experience as smooth as butter. Think about loading indicators, optimistic UI, and all this good stuff. So in Remix, action functions looked after form submissions, while loader functions take care of getting data. HTTP caching is a powerful feature that can really improve performance on your web application. It's like giving a memory to your app. Instead of constantly asking the server for data, your app can remember some of it, reducing the load on your server and speeding up response times for your users. And in Remix, HTTP caching is used to its full potential. But what about updates? Well, HTTP caching in Remix is smart. It knows when to update the data. And this is where cache control comes in. You can define cache control headers right in your root modules. For example, you can set max age 300 to tell the browser to keep the cache data for 300 seconds. So with HTTP caching, your web app becomes faster, your server gets less stress, and your user stays happy. It's a win-win-win situation. In this example, the headers function is exporting an object with a cache control property. The value of this property is a string that tells the browser how to cache the response. The max age directive specifies the maximum amount of time in seconds that the fetched response is allowed to be cached. In this case, it's set to 300 seconds or 5 minutes. So this code is essentially telling the browser, hey, you can store this response and use it for up to 5 minutes without checking back with the server. And you can find many other directives in MD and docs because, again, this is a web standard. So now let's dive into code. And I don't know about you, but for me, building a global search has always been super tedious. Who likes building global search and finding it's very simple? Nobody? OK, you're like me. So when I learned Remix and that I built this global search for a blog, I was amazed at how simple it was. So I wrote a tutorial about it. So you can scan this QR code to get this tutorial. And this is, oops. This is a small website as built for this occasion, so it's a simple blog with 2 pages. Here we have a blog with some posts. Here is the post details with a title, an image, and the content. Here we have a search form, which is inside a model. So I type my query here. I enter, and we can see that the query now is attached in the URL. And we have the result by page and post. And so this is a tutorial I was talking about. And this is the back office, which is built with Storyblock, my favorite headless CMS. And so for the pages, we have one field, the body field. So we will need to search our query in this body field. And here we have our posts. So in this post, we have a headline field, and an image field, and then a text field. So we want to search in the headline and in the text and in the body field for the pages. So this is the code for this application. So we have a search form, which is built with the form component here. So here I can read that forms behaves like a normal form, except that the interaction with the server is with fetch instead of a new document request. So, and this is why our page is not reloading after form submission. But who remember how a normal form behaves? Who remember that? OK, a few people. And I can tell you that I was not remembering it. So because here, this is what I'm doing. I'm using the post method. And then here in the root file, which is the parent root in Remix, I'm creating an action here. And from this action, I get the form data. Then I use redirect, the redirect utility to redirect it to the search result root, and here I attach my query. Is it that right for the one who know how a form behaves? It's right, it works, but I'm overcomplicating things, because what I'm doing here, the form does it by itself. So I don't need the method post, because the form has a get method by default, but I need an action here, an action attribute to tell the form where to process. So it will be in the search results root, OK? So now I can get rid of this action. And let's see if it works. So I come back here. I type my query. And it works. So you see, the form is doing it all that by itself. But even wanting to show that I was overcomplicating and wanting to do the things with code. OK. So here we have our form. And we also include this form in a model here that is built with headless UI. And then we also have an overlay here that displays the word searching to have a better user experience when we have a slow network. And for that, so I have the open and set open state, and an open and set open overlay state. And then here I use the use navigation hook. And here in use effect, if the navigation state is not idle, it means that the form it's submitting, is processing, then I open the overlay. Otherwise, I close it. And here I close my model. So let's see this in action. So here I go to the network, and I'm simulating a slow network. And I go here to the console, and I type my query here. Oops. So you can see that the state is idle now, so we don't have the overlay. I enter, and it's loading, it's searching. And something is going wrong because the overlay is still displaying, but my results are displayed. And yes, we have a bug here because it's not going to back to the idle state. OK, what is happening here? It's the code I was doing first, and I knew something was wrong. And I gave this talk in React Rally in Salt Lake City in August. And fortunately, just before my talk, I crossed Ryan Florence, the creator of Remix, that explained me what I was doing wrong. In fact, I was overcomplicating things. So let's go back to the code. And OK. I go to another branch where the right code is here. So in fact, what I was doing here was not necessary, because here we use navigation. Here we initiate the use navigation. Then we create a variable is searching, so if the state is not idle, and if we are on navigation location path name, so in the search result route, then we display the overlay. And because of my React instinct, I wanted to put this open and set open overlay, but I was duplicating this state, and that's what was wrong. So that was a really great lesson, that wanting to show something simple because it's using web standards, I was myself continuing to overcomplicate things because of this React instinct that pushed me to put everything in state. OK, so now everything is working, and so it's passing the query to the URL. So now we need to extract the query from the URL, and to filter it with the query. So let's go back to the slides. OK. OK. OK, so we are in the search results route. And here we are going to use Storyblock Content Delivery API to filter these results. So first, we extract the query by using the URL constructor, again, a web standard, to create an object representing the URL defined by the parameters. Then this object includes a search param property which provides utility method. So from there, we get our query. And then we get the data from all our stories. The stories in Storyblock are all the post page, all the content entities. With the Storyblock SDK, we get Storyblock API, and we return all the stories. Now, we need to filter them, and for that, we use the filter query parameter from the Storyblock API to filter the story by a specific attribute. And here, we use the like operation to check if a custom attribute has a value that is similar to the query. And we search within the body for the pages and within the headline and text for the post. By default, the filter we apply are connected by the AND operator, but in this case, we want to use the OR operator, and for that, we use the -- OR keyword. And so this is all the code from the loader. So this is all in the search result route. So this loader gets the data from the URL. we pass the filter parameter in our request, and then we return the story that are filtered. So only the post and page that contain the query. And finally, in our components, so this still in the search result route, so it's full stack. And we retrieve the filtered story with the hook use loader data. Then we filter them by content type, post or page. And finally, we display the filter story. Et voilà. So, wrapping up, we've seen how using web standards in Remix make building a global search a breeze. And so it's not just about making our lives as developers easier, but also about delivering a top-notch user experience. So with server-side filtering, HTTP caching, and all this good stuff, we are making our app faster and more efficient. JavaScript is here to enhance the user experience. And the best part, we're doing all this while sticking to web standards, ensuring our app is robust and future-proof. So it's a win-win situation for both users and developers. So next, if you want to win, that's a strange transition, but we have this raffle, and you can win an Egghead subscription by filling this form, by scanning this, and filling this form before the 31 of December. And here, everybody want to scan? Is it enough time? You can scan this and get all my slides. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that talk. I've been meaning to get my hands in on Remix, and this is another reminder that I should go and explore it at some point.